Hi, everybody. I am Mike Distilio. I am the former proud principal of Bunker Hill Middle School, and I am the current director of at Central Office of Registration, Data Technology, and Community Outreach. So today, I'm using my community outreach hat to talk to Coach Fraction-Mills and some of her respected athletes as well. Just kind of letting you know kind of why we're here a little bit, and maybe we'll start the conversation going from that. As a principal, I've realized that my time as an athlete, as a child, as a kid, is over, and I am now, like Coach Fraction-Mills, an educator, and my purpose is to watch the next generation thrive, flourish, and become better as a result of, maybe some things that I can instill in people. And I truly believe that you guys are the next generation of leaders, whether it's leaders as athletes, leaders as grown-ups in whatever profession you choose, leaders as parents, whatever you choose to do eventually. But I'm very proud here, and one of the things that I find is that if you want to look at leadership, you have to go to the kids, because sometimes, at least in our adult life, I feel, and I don't know if you agree, Coach Fraction-Mills, it's hard to find leaders.
Oh yeah.
And I'm talking all the way from the national level to the local level. It's very difficult, and it's very difficult. If you don't look for it, you might not find it. Okay. So anyway, in order for us to make sure we're fostering leadership, it's important to talk to the kids who are the future of leadership. Okay. So one of the things we've done in every single podcast that we filmed, the We Are Township Leadership podcast, is invite a respected coach, mentor, teacher, and then in turn, that respected coach, mentor, teacher introduces people that they feel embody some characteristics of leadership, right? So each teacher leader is asked to choose 3 people, right? And so I'm going to explain to you why I respect Coach Fraction-Mills, and then she, in turn, you're going to talk about all of our wonderful people here, right? So Coach Fraction-Mills, off camera, I talked to you about my experience as a former teacher, as a former track athlete, as a former track coach. My team in the mid-'90s was top 16 in the nation at the Adidas Nationals that we went to at Duke University in North Carolina, right? So I had talent, but I was also interested in learning how to leverage that talent. And looking back on it, I probably could have done a good job, a better job, but at that time I was very young, and looking back, I would have done something different to maintain that over a larger span of time. This is why I respect Coach Fraction-Mills a lot, because I feel that there's a couple things I know about you. I believe teaching was not your first career. Am I correct on that?
I was kind of lost for a little bit there, and because of coaching, I started substitute teaching, and then I kind of realized it was always a thought that I had, and I kind of realized it was where I was supposed to be pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I knew Coach Fraction because she was subbing at Bunker Hill. Didn't really get to interact with her too much because she immediately started subbing as an online teacher. And when we pivoted to remote learning, and then I've just kind of quietly known you and just kind of watched your work. And what I've known in a 3-year span, it's not an accident that while you've had good talent come through your program, it's not an accident as to why your team is thriving. And it's not, I know there's other coaches that are equally responsible for the success of the team, but I think your ability to establish a culture, your ability to be real with people, your ability to connect on a very emotional level with people makes you a fantastic educator and a fantastic leader. So I admire the work you do, and I just wanted you to know that up front. So
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So with that being said, if you can kind of talk about your experience a little bit, you talked a little bit about getting into teaching and stuff. Talk about where you see yourself as a leader, and then introduce the young women here.
Okay, so this is my third-ish full year of teaching. I started mid-year, 10th grade health phys ed, driver's ed in 2022. So February 2022 was my first official role in the building. I had already been coaching for a couple years at that time. So this is my 7th year with the track and field program, 3rd year as head coach. And I think a lot of the foundation comes from our prior head coach, Amanda Williams. From day one, she and I worked together to kind of just, because she was here as a coach when I was a senior. That was her first year. And we were just kind of brainstorming ways to make things better, to improve off of the experiences I had. I had a good experience here, but there was a lot of things we could have improved on. So that's always been the center of my coaching philosophy, and kind of just going from there. And, it's been cool because the wins and things have just kind of come with it. But it also helps when you have the right people by your side. So that's been a big part of it. I try to mostly lead by example, but also sometimes it's a little do as I say, not as I do, in that I expect them to be better than me. I expect them to take it to the next level, and just anything they learn day by day is helping them to be better people. And I think that should be our goal as coaches, as educators, as leaders in general, is to make sure that each student leaves here as a better person and not just a better athlete or a better student, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to impact our worlds down the road. So I've got these 3 very special ladies with me today. I have junior Cali Lacovara, pole vault superstar, with us. From day one, Cali was a little bit shyer, feeling it out. Pole vault's a specialty event, so they don't always get as much love, as much credit as the other showcase events in the sport. But Cali's our vocal but quiet leader. She's very strong in leading by example, but she's also going to call her teammates out when they're not doing what needs to be done. She's like, hey, we're trying to be productive today. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what Coach Fraction, Coach Olive told us we need to do, so this is where we need to be at. And we always appreciate having her around. And her smile is just infectious too. Like, you can be having the worst day ever, and you see Cali smile, and you just know everything's going to be okay. So in that way, she's like a calming force within the team. So we're just thankful to have her, and thankful I got you for another year too. And then my other 2 superstars here, I have recent state champion as of yesterday, Dakota Jones, in the 55 hurdles. Dakota's a sprinter and a hurdler who came to us as also a little shy little thing, not the most vocal, but you could tell that each day she's just kind of soaking it in. Like, she's like, okay, that didn't go well, that went really well. And I think over time she's just taken her experiences and turned it into her style of leadership, to now very vocal, very outspoken. She's kind of, if I had to say, like our central leader on the team these days, and she's not afraid of it either. She knows the expectations of this program, and she expects her teammates to meet that. And if she sees someone slacking, she's not afraid to hold them accountable and tell them to get their life together. So we're very, very grateful to have Dakota on our team as well. It doesn't hurt that she's also like a superstar on the track, in the classroom. So, and then we have Rachael Wilson, also a senior, one of our distance wonders. Rachael has never really been afraid to speak up. She always knew her place would eventually be a leader. She stuck with the leaders on the team from day one, and I think that has really shaped the kind of leadership that she's brought to our team. She is strong in knowing, like, this is right, this is wrong, and she really tries to instill that into our younger athletes and remind them why we're here, what our purpose is. Like, sure, we want to have fun, we want to have a good time, but at the same time, Rachael just reminds everyone, like, we have a goal of working together to be great as a team. And Rachel's been a huge part of that, and just pushing everyone in the right direction. So, very, very special group of young ladies I have here.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I want to kind of just ask a question to kind of just start the ball rolling. And I have a question for both Dakota and Rachael, and then maybe one for Cali as well, and then we'll start kind of some of the pre-planned questions. So here's what I know, and congratulations on all your successes yesterday or over the weekend. That's big time. But in an indoor track, even outdoor track, it's 15 hours of grueling stuff, and you travel. Where was the meet?
Yesterday we were in Tom's River.
Okay, so you're in Tom's River, right? Mm-hmm. And you run 55 dash or hurdles.
Both.
Yeah. Okay, so you are there, and you're there all day to run less than 12 seconds.
Yes.
Okay, so that takes a certain amount of effort, and do you run the 1600 or
like mile, half mile, 2 mile,
right? So you could be there anywhere from like 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes to 11 minutes, right? So that, I mean, even still sitting there 15 hours on a given day is a lot of work, right? So how do you Coach Fraction-Mills said you guys always hold your team accountable to stay focused on the purpose as to why you're there, right? So how do you do that when you have to sit around for 15 hours?
Well, everybody has their own thing that they have to do. We're always moving, even if we're like waiting around. We're like cheering on our teammates, making sure they're warmed up. And then like yesterday, one of my teammates, we had to run the 4x4, and she was trying to sleep, and I told her, no, you have to sit up, because if you fall asleep, we're not going to run well.
Right.
So we're just making sure that everybody's awake and staying motivated, eating. That's
so
the always thing we forget.
How do you do that? How do you find that courage to be able to do that, to say, hey, the team's relying on you,
Well, usually because my mom is someone who like helps me with all this stuff. She makes me like a meal plan and stuff. So I'm like, guys, I have a meal plan, so I know what I'm doing. So maybe you should like listen, and I'm like, you guys, if you have food, you need to eat something, like right now.
Yeah.
So, and usually they're like, okay, fine, and then they do it.
Got it.
Yeah, she's very big on leading by example. She does a really great job, and with her being successful, I think it's been easy because they're like, well, Dakota's doing really well, so maybe I should listen and see what she's got going on and take what she says very seriously.
I kind of agree with what Dakota said. I mean, there's always, like, even though I might be only racing for 2.5 minutes, there's always another event happening that we can all go support. Like, just at sectionals, we were all free and we all went over to go see Cali pole vault as she became the sectional champ. So, like, there's always, like, something to do, even though we've been there for so long, and something to motivate us, like, to work as a team. Watch our teammates, cheer them on, like, help them out, motivate them, and all that.
Yeah. And I remember another time we were at your sinus and we were all exhausted.
No.
We were there for so long, and at the end of the meet, we're all like dancing. We're having a good time. We're like, we're tired, but we're gonna have a good time anyway. So we're always very upbeat.
There's
even
sort
when
of
we're
that
exhausted.
Release when you're done with the whole thing.
It's very nice. And we're like, oh, we get to go home now. Like, let's go.
Absolutely. All right, so Cali, here's my departure question for you. Were you always involved in track and field? I'm going to say the answer is no.
No, I started for my freshman year spring. So I didn't even do winter.
Correct. So all of a sudden, Coach Fraction-Mills says, you know what, I think you'd be a good pole vaulter, right? And listen, that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. I mean, it's so technical and stuff like that. So how are you like, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. How do you do that?
So I used to do gymnastics for pretty much my whole life. So I was used to that like strict training and like a lot of strength conditioning and stuff like that. So coming from that background, knowing what pole vaulting was, I was like, oh, this will be easy. I did gymnastics my whole life, but it really isn't.
Right.
Like, it's the same. It's kind of the same idea, just like, but coming from not knowing anything about pole vault, it really just like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, it made me understand that you have to put in all of your effort to it, and that by using my gymnastics background, I was like, you know what, maybe I can figure this out in some way. So that's what I did to start out.
That's called answering the call. You know what I mean? It's really a thing where you can either accept or reject the call, right?
Yeah.
And by you accepting the call, that changed your trajectory on how you participated in high school and how you became more respected by your coaches and your peers. And that's an interesting thing because Coach Fraction-Mills and the other coaches saw that in you, and that's what makes a good leader, somebody that can kind of flip the script and give something to somebody and they take it and run with it. So the fact that you answered the call speaks a lot to your, and we'll talk about it in a minute, your resilience and your courage, So the next question I want to ask you all, and I'll start with you, Cali, since I finished with you here. How do you see yourself as a leader? If you could define that. Without ethical leadership, just how do you see yourself as a leader?
I see myself as someone who's like very open to communication. I feel like communication is very important, and to understand that it's okay to ask questions. Like, that was a really big thing for me, because originally I would be really scared to ask questions, just be like, try and figure it out myself, but trying to portray that to the young, because I'm still a junior, I'm not even a senior yet, but to the underclassmen, just to say, hey, it's okay to ask a question. Like, you can ask Fraction, you can ask Olive, you can ask me, you can ask any of the upperclassmen. We're always here to help. So I think that's really important, and to just have open communication whenever.
Thank you.
Having your coaches trust you. Like, Fraction always asks me, like, can you do this? Like, can you, like, get everybody warmed up? Can you do this? And I'm like, of course. Like, I got you. So, like, having her trust me, and then having everybody else, like, know that they can, like Cali said, like, ask me the questions that they have, and then we can get our workout in before, like, we freeze our butts off, like, so yeah.
So when Coach Fraction-Mills or Coach Olive are not around and you've graduated and maybe you're going to run in college, but what happens when college is over? What have they instilled in you that you're going to take to your adult life, do you feel?
Having the trust in myself as well. So, like, I wasn't a very confident kid before I came to track, and they've told me to trust yourself, trust your instincts, do what you feel is right. So I'm going to take that with me forever.
I think that's fantastic advice. I'm glad you're taking that with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rachel?
The way I view myself as a leader is empathy is a huge thing for me, because, like, as a senior, but, like, I've been the freshman, the new one on the team. I've been the sophomore, been the junior. I feel like I can really relate to all of them. So kind of like what Cali said with communication, that's, like, a big thing. And I just want to make sure that everyone's, like, confident, especially in this sport. Like, you need confidence to get through your races, because if you're not good mentally, your physical race won't be the greatest.
100%.
So you need to make sure that you see that in everybody, and make sure that they're, even when they have a bad workout and they're kind of, like, dwelling on things, like, you need to make sure that they're always confident and kind of look out for them a little bit, and make sure that they're able to talk to you about that type of stuff too.
Awesome. Well, what happens if you have a bad day and you're not in the right headspace for your 2 mile? Because that could be monotonous, right? You got 16 laps indoors and 8 laps, outdoors, right? So it's like you're on a hamster wheel a little bit. And how do you maintain that focus, because everybody's looking at you, right? So how do you do that?
Right, for me, like, that's happened a couple times, and I kind of just, like, I try and calm myself down, like, to myself, like, just thinking, like, I've done this before. This is not the first time I've done this race. Once it's over, so don't let it be something that you regret. Meaning, like, if I'm, like, scared, I don't want to go out hard in the race, like, I will regret that when I'm done, thinking, like, oh, I could have went harder, and also that everybody else sees that, too. So I kind of put, like, that into my perspective, and I just think about how this is not my first time doing this, and I can use my experience to help with that, basically.
And are you a risk taker in your strategy in racing, or are you conservative?
I think it kind of goes both ways. I think I've always been more conservative with it, but more recently, I can take more risk kind of if I see that I'm able to, if I see the opportunity to take the risk of, like, going up there in the third lap of the 800. Like, I've been doing it more recently, but when I was younger, I definitely was more conservative.
Right. Coach Fraction-Mills, how would you define your leadership?
It's gonna sound really corny, but I try to lead with my heart, and I lead with my gut, and I try to just always do what feels right, because if it feels right, it most likely is right. And I try to be very open with the girls. Like, they might not always agree with everything that I have to do, but, you know, there's no secrets, there's no hidden doors. I explain to them, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how we're going to do it. And I think that has really helped with getting them on board with the culture that we've built over the last couple of years, and them understanding why we do the things we do, why everyone has to warm up together, why being there for one another is so important, why even if on your worst day you're going and picking up your teammate, it's, you know, they're looking at you now that they're the upperclassmen. And I just try to remember that the same way I'm telling them the underclassmen are looking up to you guys, like, you guys are looking up to me. So I have to make sure that I'm always on my A game, and I'm always doing the right thing. So I think that shows in our day-to-day activities, and I feel like it's been going pretty well over the years, but I just hope that, you know, all of my athletes always understand that I'm always trying to do what's best for not just them individually, but what's best for us as a whole, and what's going to make them a better person at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think one of the most difficult things to do as a leader and as a recipient of what the leader is saying, as a leader, is to give honest, true, non-judgmental feedback, right? And you guys have to be the recipients of that feedback, and you either have to accept it or reject it, right? So feedback, I think you'd be a very good pole vaulter with your gymnastics skills, and you can either accept that or not, you know. Your mom creates a meal plan for you, right? You can either say, listen, I'm going to have a couple hamburgers and some pizza today, or you could say, you know what, no, I'm going to load up on the protein I need to make sure I'm good to go, you know.
And sometimes it's both.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You are a kid. You are entitled to that.
Well-rounded.
Yes.
But it's just getting feedback doesn't escape you, whether you're a student or an athlete. You know, Coach Fraction-Mills has to get feedback from Mr. Murphy, has to get feedback from Mr. Anderson, has to get feedback from even probably other people in her life, and it just doesn't escape you. It's about what you do with that feedback, you know. Me, personally, I'm a person that accepts feedback, but I take things personally when people doubt me, right? So I remember, I'll use a track example. I remember being a kid, and I was about to get my first varsity letter, and I think I was a sophomore, and I was scheduled to run the 4x8 with all these awesome seniors, and the coach pulled me off the race, and I wasn't going to let her, because I needed them, the fast people, to help me get through and help me get the letter so I could score points in the meet. And he came to me and he said, Mike, I don't know why you're so upset. The only reason you could let her is because you're running on the backs of all these really good athletes. And he knew that about me enough to know that would motivate me, right? So that sounds absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
We all froze.
No. But he knew that about me, that when you doubt me, that motivates me, right? So, you know, this is the same guy that when I got cut from baseball, he said, bring your running shoes tomorrow. You got a spot on the team. So he saw some in me, but he knew me well enough to know that if he did that, it would be fine. And I told him, okay, coach, take me off. I'm running the 800. I'll win the 800 for you today, you know? And I earned my letter outright because I didn't need to rely on the team, right? So, and I ran the best. I think that was actually the best 800 I ever ran in my life, you know, until I got to college. But it's interesting because coaches motivate people in different ways. Like your parents probably know those things that can motivate you to do different things. And as a grown up, I understand and as a former coach and former teacher and former principal, I understand different ways to motivate people, you know, and that worked for me. It's probably wouldn't work for a lot of people, but that worked for me. But it's interesting how somebody like Coach Fraction-Mills or your other coaches can find that one thing to motivate you, and then all of a sudden, like, it makes sense to you. And I think as you guys get older, I already see that based on how you're talking. That's kind of what you do for your peers, you know? So to say to somebody, you know, get up, eat, you know, I mean, you probably wouldn't do that to some random stranger you just met, right? So, but you know you carry a certain stature because of your success on the field, and that that is going to motivate somebody to want to be like you. And so, you know, somebody else who's doubting whether they should be in track and field, you might approach them differently, you know? Anyway, that's what I'm kind of getting a sense from this conversation about stuff. Another question I want to, before we go into ethical leadership, is talking about, you know, how would you, maybe you've seen the team, it's been successful ever since you were a freshman, I think, right?
Yes. Before
that, not so much. I mean, they had success, but it wasn't to the state level that we're talking about. Is the success motivate each of you, or is it the hard work that motivates each of you? Like, I'm interested in that, because it's hard to do what you do.
Yeah.
You know, if you
personally,
what motivates you?
I think it's all the above.
Okay.
The success and then the hard work that you put in, like, you know what you've put into it, so you want to give the same effort. And I'm always told it's more of the input than the output. But even though you get a good output, you know that even though you put in a good effort, it's still good even if the outcome wasn't what you wanted.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree completely with what Dakota just said. I mean, I think for me personally, what motivates me is probably like all the hard work that goes into it during practice, like every single day, rain or shine, whether the weather is -1 or not. We're always out there or inside doing workouts every day. And I also think it's living up to what we did last year too. After we graduated so many seniors, we probably had more motivation, I would say, kind of showing that we're still good. Even though we had amazing athletes, like, we are still a good team, even after they all graduated.
That's a great point. I'm sure you had a few doubters, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
plenty.
sure. Yes.
Plenty.
Yeah.
Excellent. Kelly?
I definitely think that us as a team, like, us individually, we all motivate each other. So I think that's a really important thing. Like, we could all be having a bad day, but at least we're all together. And we could all be having a good day. We do it together. Like, I'll never forget, it was sectionals, and I was pole vaulting. And it was like, at the time they didn't tell me, but it was like, it kind of came down to the last two events, and one of them was mine. And they were
and you
all,
didn't know this.
I didn't know, but I had they were all like clustered together, and they were all cheering me on, and just that feeling just made me so happy, and it gave me that energy that I needed, because like knowing that they were all there to support me, just, it felt good. It really did.
Awesome. In your own lives, you have this track experience, this family atmosphere, this holding each other accountable, this lifting each other up. This is all leadership stuff. I'm interested in how you transcend that in your home, not in your home life, but like outside of track, outside of school, outside of whatever. How do you embody those leadership characteristics? I'm interested in what you do.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about self-awareness, because I feel like that's a really big thing, because outside of track, I'm also a gymnastics coach, and I coach like little kids. They're from the ages like 7 to 9, 6, 7,
Where
9.
do you coach?
Gymnastics, all of it. Oh, Atlantic
Where?
Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Williamstown. But,
Yeah.
basically, like, just being aware of like going from this track environment where we're all older, and like you can say things like and just be tough with them, but like going and being an example to these little kids and trying to like help them is really important. I think having that self-awareness, knowing what you're saying to them, to like, because they're gonna listen and they're gonna think it's gonna have a big impact on them. And to have leaders in my life that I've always looked up to, I want to be that leader for them. So I think that's a really important thing.
Thank you for sharing. Awesome.
That was a good one, Cali. I'm still stuck. I'm still
That was
stuck.
really good.
I don't know.
I think mine would be kind of like, I grew up being the youngest in the family to like my older brother, so he always was kind of like in charge of me, the boss, and I feel like now being like a leader for the track team, it kind of shows that like when you speak up, like it'll affect people in like a positive way too, like they respond to it. So I think like now that obviously like I'm older, my brother's older, like I kind of can get my word out. I can kind of talk to them more and, like, them actually listen to me because I've always been the youngest. Kind of just looks over me. But now, like, I kind of have a voice now that I can kind of, like, express what I'm thinking, all that stuff, and they listen more.
Outstanding. Dakota?
Yeah. Rachael, I have to piggyback. I because I've always been very silent. Like, like you said, I was very shy. Like, I didn't talk very much, and the track is still like the only place like I vocally say things, or like I'm usually like in the back just listening, observing. But and my family's very loud, so I'm always, but I actually like I have the confidence, I have the will to actually say things that I want to say. And I learned that from here. So from her specifically.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for somebody to see that in you and give you that leverage to be able to do that, Coach Fraction-Mills, what in your like personal life, how do you kind of give back that leadership aspect in some ways?
I just feel as though I'm never afraid to take initiative. I'm not one to kind of sit around and wait for things to happen. I'm a make things happen type of person. So whether it's track related, like at one of the coaches association meetings, like I'm not afraid to speak up on what I think is right, or whether it's something family related. I think I had a lot of coaches that instilled the same values in me, and my parents instilled the same values in me, that do what you feel is right, speak up, jump in, like don't let life pass you by, like be active. So
awesome. Thank you. So we're going to just talk about ethical leadership, and then we'll close it out with some final thoughts. Cali, you already talked about having accountability, right? Did you want to talk anything else of the 6?
I would talk about courage. So something with courage is that, like, as a pole vaulter, it takes courage to actually launch yourself in the air with a stick and fall over another stick. So I think it's important to, like, show that courage to other people too, by showing that it's okay, like you can do hard things, and to show to the other people that you can do anything that you set your mind to. So I think that's a really important thing. And even in school, like, if you think, you just tell yourself, oh, I can't do this, like, no, have that courage, show yourself that you can do it, prove people wrong. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, we always say can't isn't a vocabulary word in track.
Yep.
She always says you can't say word. Can't. She said that's a push up. That's a push up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'll go next, I guess. I would say resilience for me. As a hurdler, when you fall, you have to get back up and keep going. I remember my freshman year, my first hurdle race, I fell in the very first hurdle, and I had to, and I'm pretty sure it was a relay, so I had to get back up and keep going and go through all the rest of the 4 hurdles so my teammates could run. So getting back up and doing something over, even though you fell, is hard, but very motivating at the same time, because I did it again in sectionals twice and got very last place. And then I came back the next year and won the whole thing. So that's
a very big metaphor for life that you're talking about. You fall, you get up, you fall again, you get up.
Maybe you have a scar or two, but it'll be okay.
But eventually you triumph, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Can you pass that over to Rachael so she can...
I think I kind of talked about this earlier, but empathy is definitely, like, my biggest thing. Like, I just feel like I can relate to every, like, no matter what level that the girls are at, I feel like I can relate to them. Like, we did not all come in here and were able to run, like, a sub-whatever mile, sub-this 800. Like, we all had our first race. We all had our first 2-mile, our first 800. And I understand why they're so nervous. Like, the nerves that I get before a race, like, I can relate to them. And I feel like it's just important that they have somebody that they can look up to and relate to. even if I might not show it on the outside, but like I get nervous before all my races, before a relay, and like I feel like you have to be vulnerable to kind of show that that's okay, and have them like you build up the confidence just to like put that behind and like focus on your race.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate the conversation today. I know I just met most of you, but it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you and getting to know Coach Fraction-Mills a little bit more and getting to touch base with Cali again. It's it's really a good thing, and I think you guys are a little bit more humble than you actually think you are. I think you have some fantastic leadership qualities, and I hope you always let that shine through. You guys are off to do amazing things. So I just appreciate you all being here today. So
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.